All right, we're still learning about the five pupils of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. As I said before, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he basically established the whole Torah because he was smuggled out of Jerusalem just before the destruction of the Second Temple, and the Romans came and destroyed the Second Temple, but he got out, and he found favor in the eyes of a big general that became the king. And he said, "Okay, you can allow. I'll give you Yavne and the wise men, so you can keep the Torah going. But all we want is the land and the people, and the Torah will let the Torah go." So, in his pupils, they are very basic. They said some very basic attitudes that should be embodied by people who want to learn the Torah. So let's go. Here we have Rabbi Shimon. Remember Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, that's one of his pupils. He said, Havi Zahir B'Kriya Shema. You should be careful when you say Shema and Tefillah. It's a commandment from the Torah. The Jewish people have to say Shema Yisrael. These two paragraphs, or one paragraph, or at least one line from the Torah twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. Shema Yisrael. So he's saying, when you say Shema Yisrael, we'll look at some of the explanations. And when you pray, Al ta'as tefillat hakava. Don't make your prayers set. In other words, like certain words you have to say, and you just say them. You just do whatever God says. You just say the words. Said, okay, that's nice that you're doing what God says, but just saying the words is not exactly what God says. The whole idea of prayer is supposed to be with your heart as well as with your mouth. Whereas the heart is not enough, but the mouth is also not enough. You should say the words, but don't make your prayers just like set rote, automatic. But they should be mercy and requesting in front of God, Baruch Hu. God answers prayers. Like it says, Ki chanun v'rachum, erech apayim v'rav chesed, v'nicham al hara. Like it says that God is merciful, He is patient, and He has tremendous kindness, and God will rescind any negative decrees that He has made on the Jewish people. We'll look at the explanations in a moment. V'al te'eh rasha b'fnei atzmacha, and do not be evil in your own eyes. Do not be evil in your own eyes. Okay, this is also one of the sentence is one big basis for the Tanya and how a Jew should treat himself in relation to God. You shouldn't be an evil in your own eyes. We'll see what it means. Yes. Let's see what these mean. Here we go. Be careful when you say Kriya Shema. You should read it in the proper time. And also when you pray, he says you should say it in the proper time. And don't make it set. What does it mean set? Cold. The daber, don't make it like a person that he's got an obligation. He has to say certain words. But Omer, when will I get off this punishment, this debt? I have to say every day Shema Yisrael twice. It's like children that they get a punishment in school. I will not throw spitballs at the teacher. Write that 4,000 times. I will not throw spitballs at the teacher. How long is it? I'm going to have to continue doing this, writing this. Same thing. Don't look at Shema and the prayers as these punishments that were put upon you by God. But what? Look at it as though you are actually having a conversation with God. It's like you can go into the king and pour your heart out to the king. Or maybe, kava, what does it mean, kava? Like a person that sets himself to read a certain paragraph or whatever, and he just reads it. And he doesn't say it in a language that really is meaningful to him. and requesting mercy from God. In other words, you don't want to get into bad on God's bad side. So you say these prayers. Right? So you say the prayers, you just say the words what God wants you to say. It's very common that people pray, religious Jews, and they don't really even know the meanings of the words of the prayers. Right? It's not a proper thing. People should know the words, but on the other hand, it's better than just doing nothing. But yeah, on one hand, it's better than doing nothing. But on the other hand, it's very bad because if you do nothing, at least you know that you're doing nothing. And if you pray without the meaning, it's as close to doing nothing as possible. And the worst part about it is you'll never change. You'll think I'm okay. And that's not right. Because God is as Chanun, God is a merciful God, and God wants your requests. And by means of these requests, God has mercy on you immediately, answers your prayer. Also, do not be evil in your own eyes. What does it mean, do not be evil in your own eyes? Don't do something today, and tomorrow you'll realize you became an evil person because of it. Right? Don't do something today that will make you'll realize, wow, what did I do yesterday? I shouldn't have done that. The Rambam explains you shouldn't be evil in your own eyes means don't never consider yourself to be an evil person. Don't look at yourself like I am bad. Because of this, you go out and you figure, well, I'm lost. I mean, I'm trying to do Torah and doing my best. And I see I'm just a big loser and I'm a big failure. Let's just forget about it. I mean, I'm not succeeding anyway. Why put all this effort into something that I'm not succeeding at? I'm after all this, I'm still an evil person. So, at least I'll enjoy myself. And who says I'm evil? Who says there's such a thing as, as God and Torah and reward and punishment and all this stuff? Maybe there's not. I mean, if I'm not succeeding anyway, so, why not just go all the way and forget about this whole idea of right and wrong? It says, therefore, don't look at yourself like you're a bad person. Maybe the things you do could be bad, but that you can improve. But you yourself are good. You yourself are holy. That's you. Maybe you make a mistake in your thoughts, your speech, your action, but that can be fixed up by your essential goods. That's what it means. Don't look at yourself as essentially you're bad. And if so, there's no way you can fix yourself up because you're just through and through. But Ani, I heard, don't be evil, but davar zeh, it says, what does it say? Al tieh rasha, don't be an evil person in what? Bifnei atzmecha, because you separate yourself from everybody else. Right? So don't separate yourself from others. So if so, we have a lot of sort of good advice over here. One of them is when you pray, and you say Shema, you should understand the words and take the words to heart. Understand that you're actually speaking to God and that God really wants to hear your prayers, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, because, God is infinite. So how can he listen to your prayer? But he does. That's the way God set up the world. And he listens to your prayers, but he wants genuineness. So when you say the words, it has to be genuine with feeling, with the emotion. It's like if you go to sell vacuum cleaners at people's houses, and you knock on the door and you have this paragraph that you just say automatically, Joe's vacuum cleaners are the best. There is nothing better than them. You will really enjoy this vacuum cleaner. I myself there's a little note there, look at the person and point to yourself. I myself, look back at the paper, have one of these Jones vacuum cleaners. It is very good. Would you like to buy one, sir? Boom, closes the door in your face. Because you weren't saying seriously. You didn't even know what you were saying. Could have been in a different language. The same thing is when you pray, it is in a different language. It's in Hebrew. So it's very easy to just sort of, I'll do what God wants and I'll say it. Don't do that. Number one. Number two, you should know that God is merciful. He's waiting for your prayers. Number three, don't look at yourself in a negative way. Don't look at yourself in a negative way. Also, don't separate yourself from all the congregation. Okay, that's today's Rambam. Let's do one more because yesterday we didn't do any Rambam. Rabbi Elazar, remember Rabbi Elazar ben Aruch? In a way, he was the the choice of all the pupils. He said, "Havishkod lilmod Torah." You should be, how do you say, constant in your learning of Torah. V'dam al hashiv lapikoros, and you should know what to reply to an apostate. Right? There's 100,000, who knows how many really good reasons not to believe in God, and not to believe in the Torah, and not to believe in Moses, and not to believe in the rabbis. And you have a very great number of Jews that these reasons are the motivating force in their life for not doing Torah and the commandments. And some of them just don't know any better. That's what it is today. But there's also people which are called apikoros. And apikoros is a person that comes from the language of Hefker, that he doesn't want any yoke whatsoever. He wants to be free from the Torah, free from God. And really everybody has this inside of themselves, everyone. Everyone has this inside of this feeling, except for tzaddikim, total tzaddikim, they don't. But everybody has this little sort of voice inside of them saying, God says this, but I say this. So you have to know what to reply to these urges when they come popping up inside of you, or simply when people start to talk in such a way that opposes the Torah. So you should know, that's what it says, you should learn the Torah, and through the learning of the Torah, you'll also know how to oppose any, forces against God. You should know who you were working for God. And there's a lot of times you can get into arguments with these missionaries and these other people, which the Rebbe, by the way, was very against. He was very opposed. Because, frankly, let's say missionaries, especially in interfaith ideas, so a lot of times these ideas are very enticing. They're very enticing. And they're very luring. I remember once, a long time ago, someone came to the yeshiva, a missionary. He disguised himself. He said he wants to come and learn. He came right before Shabbat, and he kept the boys awake all night. And he started talking to them about his nonsense and, the Lord, and you have to believe in this person and this and that. And I came in the morning to wake everybody up, and everybody was just bleary-eyed. And they said, he kept us up all night to this. So I said, listen, you have to, this was on Thursday. I said, you have to stop this because it's really wrong. And I talked to him for a while, and he said, but everybody believed it. Everybody was interested. So I said, listen, if you would have come here with pornography, it would have maybe interested them more. Just because everybody is interested doesn't mean that it's good. And that's evil. If you would have come with drugs also could have gotten them interested. People are interested in doing destructive things. So that's what it means. Sometimes, though, if you get into arguments with these people, sometimes the arguments that they give can be very luring, very enticing, and especially if they say it in a very friendly way. So therefore, you have to know, why are we really doing Torah and the commandments? Why should we do Torah and commandments? You could prove that these missionaries or whatever, that they're wrong, but why are we right? What's the point? We're doing Torah and the commandments. Good, so what their philosophies are flawed, and they're full of holes, and etc. But we're supposed to be motivated to have love for God. So you have to come to know who you are working for. And you should know that God is trustworthy, that he will reward you for everything you do. God does not remain a debtor. If a person does good, God will reward him. One of the 13 principles of Jewish faith. There is reward and punishment. Okay, my friends, we'll talk about this, God willing, tomorrow. Have a good day with Mashiach now. God willing, 8:15 tomorrow morning, Chassidut.